Welcome to the Ultimate Football Manager 2024 rebuild, where the stakes are higher than ever. Today we're taking charge of Leicester City with one huge twist. Every time we win a Premier League match, we're going to earn an extra £3 million to boost our transfer budget. That means every victory could transform our squad like you have never seen before. But there is a big catch. We only have 5 seasons to turn this team into Premier League powerhouses. Can we climb the table and change Leicester's future forever? Let's go over and find out. So then, this is going to be Leicester City inside of the game. Now, of course, I always like to try and put a little special twist on these videos, and this was an idea I had that I thought, do you know what? This could actually be quite fun. Now, if you want to see it again, firstly, let me know what you think of the idea, and secondly, you can let me know if the amount's too much in terms of money. I felt 1 million's not enough, 2 million isn't even really enough either, and obviously 5 or 10 million is way too overpowered. 3 million is actually pretty fair in my opinion, especially with a team like Leicester. But of course, Leicester have got a lot of good stuff going for them already. They've got great training, great youth facilities as well. The owners absolutely love the club, and in terms of a club, of course, they do have some pretty rich history. This is probably, or in fact, their most famous trophy. What a season that is, and to be fair, I'll say it, probably the best Premier League season ever in terms of a storyline. Now, I will say, obviously at the moment, we are back into the Premier League. They did go down for a little bit. But this is not going to be an easy ride, because if we go over to that competition screen, we can actually go over and see the season preview. We are predicted to finish almost only 2 places above rock bottom. Now, that is fair enough, because obviously we are a relegation side, but I will say I actually quite back this team. Now, we are going to be using my plug-and-play 4-3-3, which is a tactic that is either out at the moment, if not very shortly, going to be coming out. But essentially, a basic 4-3-3 that pretty much you can play with any team. Now, looking at this front three, this front three can make you survive right off the bat already. The front three is absolutely remarkable, so I genuinely think we will have no issue staying up. In fact, if you want a bit of honest truth, I think we could probably get inside the top half of the table. With this tactic as well, the back line, the centre-backs are the only bits which worry me a little bit. The wing-backs are very, very decent, to be honest with you. The midfield's okay. Obviously, indeed, he's not ideal playing as a Mazzala, but we've got other players in the team. Of course, Luke Thomas. We've got Edouard on loan for a season. Buonanotte also is on loan, but I will say we should be able to afford him if we stay up and pick up some wins, because this is obviously the other side of the rebuild. This guy as well, by the way, not Connor Cody, this lad here is an absolute baller, so hopefully we can get the best out of him as well. We of course have to show Jamie Vardy, but the guy is 37, so let's be a little bit fair. We can't expect too much from him, but realistically this team is very, very good on paper. Now, in the first season we had a budget of £0, so you know, we couldn't have spent any money anyway. Obviously we've won no games at the moment, so we couldn't give ourselves any money either. At any point in this video, if you do enjoy, please do leave a like, and if you do want to get this tactic and this rebuild file, make sure you are heading over to the Patreon page to get all of these wonderful perks. At the time of recording, I'm about to announce the biggest giveaway we have ever done. By the time this video goes up, it will be live, so make sure you go over and get involved, because trust me, it is a massive giveaway. If you like football, you're guaranteed to love it. But let's go over and load in to season 1. Right then, so the main focus was the Premier League, and I tell you what, we have done such a good job. Way above top half in the Premier League. We are actually sitting now in 5th place with gaining European football, so I imagine that is going to be a fair bit of money coming in. And obviously, you do your 21 times 3, we have also gone over and generated a nice tiny bit of income, to the point where I've even made a first signing before we're even going to break down the rest of the results, which I will show you literally next. But I tell you what, this is a great first season, and in terms of players, apart from Oliver Skip actually, it's pretty quiet in terms of the actual players in the stat lines. But the main stat is we finished in the top 6, we've got European football, a ton of money coming in, and yeah, we are now able to go over and sign people like this. That is right, we've made the deal permanent for Facundo Buonanotte. He's going to come in from Brighton for 42 million. He had a very good season here on loan, dropped nearly a 7 rating, 9 goals, 3 assists, and in terms of players that are attracted to come to a team like Leicester, you have to bring him in. You purely have to bring him in, so he is going to join the club, and you know what? I am absolutely buzzing for it. As for the rest of the competitions, it's not bad in the FA Cup. A semi-final appearance, it could have gone a lot worse. I tell you what, fair play to Plymouth, by the way, getting all the way to the semis, and when we go over to that Carabao Cup, it's going to be another exit in another semi-final, this time against Arsenal. So do you know what? Not too bad all round. I will say a very, very, very strong first season. And after adding in our money on top of our original transfer budget, we have got £76 million left after signing Buonanotte. So we've got a fair budget to go and spend, and I think realistically there is still a lot of improvement on this team. Like, for example, if we go to the best 11, you look at the back line, Connor Cody, Fayez, Justin, are they going to win you a Premier League? Most likely not. The midfield, some players in there won't win you a Premier League. And as much as I love the front three, nice to see, this lad getting in as well. Who, by the way, Daka had a great season. 17-3, 13-12 for Mavidi, Buonanate 10-4, 2-14 for Skip. These stats are decent, but I think that's all they're going to get you is decent. And when you start playing in more competitions, i.e. the Europa League, the Champions League one day, it becomes a lot harder for these players to actually control the sort of performance over multiple competitions. So what could happen is that you see a lot of these players almost become cup players and we replace them with better standard players. But let's just be fair to them, because in season 1 they have done very, very well. Also went over and signed Martin Vitic. Not many centre-backs available on the market that especially wanted to join Leicester, but he come in for Season 2, only played 6 games for the price tag of 7 million, nearly $1 million a game that is. Dropped a decent rating, but surprising he didn't get in the team a lot more. And that did get into the team pretty much for every game is going to be João Pedro. He comes in for 44 million, 16 goals and 4 assists. Again, a Premier League proven player, very, very good player at Brighton, and he offers so much as a player. He's still fairly young. He can play in 4 positions, all to a perfect level, by the way. He's quick, great finishing, good composure, good dribbling, good at pens as well. Pretty much the perfect player if you're trying to sign one big player to cover multiple areas, and that's exactly what we've done, as he is going to be our last signing. So Vitic, Pedro, and of course Buonanate, and the only outgoing is going to be this lad, who, to be honest, doesn't look that good anyway. So let's go over into the second season and see how much we've improved. But I tell you what, in the Premier League, it is a massive, massive change. We're actually up now into second place in 2 seasons, which is absolutely incredible. Considering we've also got that Europa League football to play, I thought I was going to see a drop, but obviously the new players coming in have played a big, big part. Buonanate now the top assister in the Premier League. We are also going to see the likes of our goalkeeper, 3rd place in the clean sheets. Buonanate is going to be in the top performers, and João Pedro is going to be the 3rd top goal scorer. Quite a fair few behind Haaland, but in there sitting pretty in 3rd place. So I mean, realistically, the other thing we've got to pay attention to is this: 25 times 3, 75 million being added to our transfer budget. So these wins, already wins are valuable in the Premier League, but when you're talking about adding money to a team, they become a lot more valuable, to the point where you even get annoyed about not beating Ipswich Town and West Ham a little bit, because I think we could have done. So that could have been an extra 6 million there. But do you know what? 75 million on top of our already existing transfer budget leaves us with a budget of 134 million to go and spend into the next window. Now, going over to the rest of the competitions, the Champions League wasn't too bad. A round of 16 exit against Barcelona. It's a decent performance. The semi-finals, again, this time against Nottingham Forest, which I am annoyed about, because I feel like we could have gone on to win whoever we played in the final at Palace or Derby. And also the quarterfinals of the Carabao Cup, I'm not as annoyed in because Newcastle are a good team, but this one here does annoy me a little bit. Now, in terms of actual performance, let's go over and look at these players then. So, João Pedro, what a signing he has been. 31-5, Mavidi 13-8, 20-21 for Buonanate, who, by the way, has really taken this team to storm. He come in and obviously had a very good loan spell. I then actually invested in him, and he's done a lot better. So, proven sometimes you got to trust when they don't have the best of the best loan spells, a decent one, they will improve if you trust them. Harry Winks 12-14, very decent as well. 11-1 for Daka, nice to see that he's still getting some game time, and 10 assists from Piera, by the way, at right back, who is 32, so fair play to him as well. Now, going forward to this team, we are of course now in the Champions League. That is not a Champions League sort of competitive back four, in my opinion. I say we're now in the Champions League. We were in the Champions League, but I mean, going forward, obviously, we have got to look at it in terms of, we are here to win the Premier League. That is the idea of the video, but I also would like to try and win the Champions League. And looking at this back line, the left back, I rate him so highly. The left back can do a job, and to a degree, potentially so can James Justin. I don't think he can all the way, though. The centre-backs definitely can't. I question the midfield a little bit, and maybe we're one attacker missing. So let's go over. We've got a big budget to go and play with. We've got £134 million to go and spend. We can go and have some fun. let's roll in to Season 3 after a pretty decent Season 2. Already second place in the Prem. Right, so we are going to wave goodbye to Connor Cody. He is going to be getting a move to where even is that? Chicago in the US? That is a very interesting move. He is going to go there anyway, and I tell you what, fair play to him. He's been a bit of a legend over in England, hasn't he? But his time is finally going to go, and he is going to be, well, playing in America. I never would have thought I would have said that. But in that last season, we did have some players come in sort of halfway through the sort of season in the window, so we are going to go over those first. These players technically were out of last season's transfer budget, to make that very clear. So we did go over and pick up Morato, by the way, from Nottingham Forest. He come in, and as you can see, he has come in and played 2 seasons with us now. The first season was actually quite okay. The second season he has improved, obviously less games but a better rating, more goals, and also an assist. So for 42 million, as centre backs go, you don't really get much better. That some, you know, I mean, he's not like a world-class centre back. People don't necessarily think of him all the time, but for a Premier League centre back, you can't really get much better for the price. Also did pick up Arnold Carly Mawendo, I believe that's how you say that. He comes in from Rennes, and as you can see, he cost me 32 million in the first season. He absolutely cooked 21 goals and 3 assists. The second season he has dropped off a fair bit. So have we brought in another striker? I'm not going to spoil it, but maybe we have. But I tell you what, for a first season and just for a striker to have at the club, he has got pace, he has got balance, he has got composure, he's got finishing, he's got good off the ball work. He is a very good player. The price tag might be a little bit too high, but I tell you what, the first season he was actually with us, he done a very good job. He also picked up one of the best young midfielders in the actual entire game. That is going to be João Neves. Now I tell you what, to get him at the club was actually quite a fair bit, and he has got quite a few add-ons in terms of goal bonuses, assist bonuses, etc, etc. But to land him at the club, I totally spent £46 million, and I feel like he has been a very good player since we got him here, dropping above a 7 rating in 2 seasons back to back, a 5 and 12 sort of goal return and assist return, 10 and 5 in the second season. And just as players go, he is still only 23, tons of potential, going to be part of this team now for the next, what, easy 10 years. A very, very good signing. Now over to the signings for the upcoming season you're about to see. Now this player come in a bit too late last year. He come in on the free and he didn't actually play a single game. This year he did. He played 30 games, picked up an assist and dropped a 6.9. He cost me literally no money at all. Now he was going to be back up to Christiansen at left back, but clearly he is competing with him because he's played 30 games in the Prem. So do you know what? Fair play. And he cost me nothing. You're then going to go over and get a bit of a luxury signing in Jeremy Frimpong. He actually moved to Man City, and as you can see, it didn't work out too well for him. We then paid 38 million. You know what? Fair play. 7.2, 6 assists, 5 goals. You know what you're getting with Frimpong. Yes, you are paying a fair bit of money per week in £130,000, but you know what you're getting with him. He's a great attacking wing-back who, I tell you what, can also do the defensive side of the game to a decent level, and this is a player that can win you a Prem. He can go forward, he can get involved, and you know what? Probably one of the better wing-backs you can sign again. So with him and Neves, we're not doing too bad. Especially when you add Thomas Araujo into the mix, coming from Benfica for 24 million. Again, plays a ton of games, 3 goals, 6.93 on that average rating. And again, as centre-backs go, you don't really find too much better. At the moment, these windows are looking incredible. This is a bit of a backup signing, and as you can probably tell, I wouldn't spend too much. 7 million, only played 6 games, but Igor is better than any other centre-back we've got in terms of an emergency backup, and considering he's on a low wage per week, didn't cost me too much, I'm happy to have him come in and play the odd game here or there. He strengthens the team, not as much as obviously the other players, but he plays a bit of a role. And lastly, another player from Man City, that is going to be Savio. Now, again, the downside is the wage, £215,000 a week, 49 million to bring him in, but he has picked up almost 20 assists in his first season and dropped nearly a 7.3, so I can't really critique him too much in terms of performance. Just the money side's a little bit harsh, but do you know what? You have to pay for good players nowadays, and in terms of the physical attributes, the technical, you're not going to find much more of a tricky winger. And if you imagine him down the right hand side, Frimpong and Savio attacking a left hand side of a team, That's not going to be fun. Reminds me of the Tio Hernandez Rafael Leao link up. They are going to be a nightmare to defend against, and also he can play on the left as well, so you're pretty much getting two wingers in one sign-in fee. Now, these last couple of windows, we've also lost obviously Cody, Joshua King, we also lost Reed. I think we did lose Reed, but looking over these, so Morato, obviously Arnaud, João Neves comes in, we've also got this lad, Braderick coming in, we've got Savio, Igor, Thomas, Frimpong. These are serious names. Now, we're only in Season 3, but it would not surprise me if we start winning trophies around about now. And we've got a chance to actually make that happen. We are going to be in the FA Cup final against Man City, and it is going to be a great start. Inside of 8 minutes, João Neves inside into Oliver Skipp, of all people that we have signed. It could have been anyone, but Oliver Skipp is going to come up clutch. We're then going to get a little bit unlucky here. I say unlucky, more just a quality free kick from Bernardo Silva, to be honest. But fortunately for us, because this game was definitely going in Man City's favour, we get a little bit on the counter-attack in a bit of a out-of-possession scenario where we win it back, high up the field, and we go and win the final. Necessarily didn't deserve it, but we got the job done. We're then also going to get to another final, this time the Carabao Cup, where unfortunately we are going to lose to Tottenham, which, to be fair, I feel like we could have beaten them. If we can beat Man City, we could be beating Tottenham. But let's just keep it humble to start with, because we are now officially winning some trophies. Europa League, we actually do drop down to, and you know what? We get a little bit unlucky, to be honest, because if you look at the teams around, the only teams that we probably would have struggled against would be Barcelona or Arsenal, and we do get one of them. Any other team, Valencia, AZ, Sturm Graz, Midtjylland, Copenhagen, we could have beaten, I feel. But unfortunately, Barcelona, well, yeah, they have a lot of fun against us. They beat us 4-1, but we have won the Premier League, which I was not expecting to win that when I said I'd win trophies in Season 3. We have won the Premier League, and I tell you what, by some points as well. A decent point advantage over Man City, and in terms of the stats, Savio, the joint most player of the matches, the 4th best performer overall. Other than that, we have not got much to talk about. No top goal scorers, no real standout players, but it doesn't matter. We have won the Premier League, but now, because we've achieved that in Season 3, and I'm absolutely loving this video so far, I'm going to carry on and try and win a European trophy. Because I think, well, first of all, 26 times 3, fair bit of Wonga. I've already gone over and added it to the budget, I think. I definitely haven't. It'd be more than 81. I'll go and add it to the budget. And then we're going to have a serious load of money to play with. And I think with that sort of money, you can see there, we already have 81 million before we have added on the bonus fund. Now, that is going to be a big budget to play with. And I tell you what, that team can be transformed. And I look at the team, we'll go over the stats right now, to be honest with you. Everyone on the attack is doing a great job. Savio not scoring loads, but getting loads of assists. Completely fine. We've got João Pedro, not as many assists, but more goals. Completely fine. Also, the striker, 18-2. Not too bad. What I will say with the striker situation is, I don't want to disrespect, obviously, him, Daka, or Cannon, but I feel like to win a Champions League, we might need to bring in a better striker. To be honest with you, the midfield is really good. You could argue, obviously, that's just filtered by the best 11 according to the game. But I mean, we've got Neves, Winks, Samer, we've got Skip and Didi, we've got Chowdhury, we've also obviously got the likes of McAteer as well. We've got some decent players, but I do feel, again, depth-wise, we need to improve as well, and maybe even centre-back-wise. We've got Fayez and Vitic. Vitic didn't really work out as a sign-in. Maybe another backup centre-back as well. There are still areas we can improve, so I think the best thing we can do is push into the next season. Firstly, remember we have won the Premier League and an FA Cup. 2 trophies in one season in Season 3. Put up 2 fingers. In Season 3. That is a great return. Let's get into Season 4. Try and push on. Let's just try and push on for a Champions League. Let's try and make it happen. Right then, to sign in one, I will say we have gone very midfield heavy in this transfer window. We're going to improve one bit of the team step by step to push it into a Champions League winning team, hopefully. We are going to pick up Nico Gonzalez. Now, he comes in for a big fee of 39 million, but that big fee returns 11 goals and 10 assists, and a decent average rating. So do you know what? For the money we spent, I'll happily take it. He is on the older side, but don't worry, we've also brought in a fantastic youth midfield player. And one of the more expensive signings is going to be Ethan Nwaneri. Now, he comes in for a total of 72 million, which is a ridiculous fee, but again, returns very well with the goals and the assists and the player of the matches. And he is literally 22, and is English, great for registration, and he can play in several roles. And he has developed probably some of the best development I have seen out of him this year in any save in this rebuild. So I thought, do you know what? Let's pick him up. He's not far off being world class at 22, and that left me with a little bit of money left to go and pick up a great goalkeeper in Noah Atabolu, who come in for 29 million, done quite well to be honest. Played 35, only conceded 26, so not bad at all. We are going to wave goodbye to Luke Thomas. He goes to Ipswich, probably a good move for him to be honest. He never really got the chance in this team, not because he's bad, but there was just better options to be honest. So we are going to lose the likes of Luke Thomas, but welcome in 3 fantastic players. And that midfield now, well, that's been pack-a-punch to midfield. Just like that, we're noticing a big improvement in the Champions League, because I can tell you now, we've gone all the way through to the semi-finals, and yes, it's a bit of a battering against PSG, but we must have beat some big teams, surely. We are going to beat Barcelona 6-2, so that's a big improvement compared to last year. And also, Real Sociedad. The league phase, how did we do? Can we see? Second place, going invincible as well. Beating teams like Barca, United, Salzburg, Porto, Dortmund, drawing against Real Madrid. The midfield has made a big difference. So for me, it's working so far. We are also going to be back-to-back Premier League champions. So again, those new signings have helped us do that. And as you can see, we are now going to have a season where we have got a few players in the stats. So Savio, joint most assists. We've also got Noah Atabolu in third most clean sheets. Savio's going to be joint most player of the matches. And João Pedro joint second with Isaac and Unal when it comes to the goals being scored. And by the way, 2 Leicester City players, top of the average rating in Savio and Frimpong, both down the right hand side by the way. So what I said is clearly playing into effect. That right hand side, pretty scary. Be your runners-up when it comes to the FA Cup in a 2-1 defeat to Arsenal. Also runners-up in the Community Shield against Man City. And it doesn't get any better for the rest of the English trophies, because we go out in the quarters in the Carabao Cup against Arsenal. So apart from the Premier League and the Champions League, this is a bit of misery. We had 2 opportunities to win 2 trophies again. We could have won the FA Cup and the Community Shield, meaning it would have been a treble-winning season, but now instead we have 1 trophy. 2 final appearances, 2 losses. The Champions League though is a big improvement, and of course if we go and look right now, an additional £90 million is going to be put onto our budget, which at the moment our budget is already 111. So we're going to be walking in to the last season with 200 million to spend, which sounds pretty good to me, because looking at this team, which by the way, the team has come a long way right now. It is now looking like Atabolu, Frimpong, Araujo, Morato, Christiansen, Samer, Namweri, Nico, Buonanotte, Savio and Pedro, although I would do that, definitely, because this right-hand side is incredible. They are dropping some big numbers. Frimpong, 16 assists. Christiansen's not really doing very well on the attacking front, I will be honest. Morato, though, 10 goals from set pieces, I would imagine. Nico Gonzalez, 20 and 19, 15 and 14 from Namweri. Savio, 21 and 21, 24 and 13 for Buonanotte, 28 and 15 for João Pedro. Now, what I've done is, or what the game has done pretty much for me, is actually decided to play João Pedro as our striker, and he can play there more than comfortably. He's a very good striker, but looking at it, if we've got the right sort of player to bring in, with 200 million, I might consider making a last-ditch sort of big striker signing. But we're going to go over, spend our money. We've got a lot of money to spend, take our time, and the last season, I think we both know what we're going for. We're going for winners in this. Now, it might happen, it might not happen. Let's go and see what we can do. The signing one is going to be Fares Chibibi. He is going to come in from FC Bayern. He comes in for 36 million and gets a load of game time in that Mazzala attacking role. And I tell you what, he returns some decent stats. We've now got the likes of him and Gonzalez who can sort of play in between each other. And I tell you what, they are very good rotation options because they both are very similar players. So whoever plays there, yeah, we're going to get something from them. That has just gone to Ipswich, if I'm right in saying. We are going to pick up Julio Enciso. He comes in as a backup winger, 18 appearances, doesn't do that well, to be honest, in terms of goals and assists. He plays quite well based off this, but to be honest with you, for 37 million, I was expecting a little better. Player that I tried to get in the first official window, or the second, technically, transfer window, is Mark Gurhey. Now, he comes in finally for 31 million. He plays every game, gets an assist, drops a 7 rating, no goals, but he does what Gurhey does. Defends very well, and I tell you what, it took me years to get him, but we finally got the man we wanted. Also going to sign a player from PSG. Who would have thought that? Signing a player as Leicester City from PSG. We are going to pick up Aaron Hickey. Now, he comes in originally as a backup to cover left back and right back. Now, this always happens. You sign him for that reason, and he comes in and gets into the team. A load of appearances, 8 assists as well. He plays very, very well. And you know what? I don't mind it. If players come in that are originally signed for backup and they prove they're good enough to get into the first team, that's fine by me. So going to spend not that much as a backup in Nicholas Seeveld. He comes in from RB Leipzig, only plays 8 games, he does okay, 2 assists, 1 goal. He's a backup at the end of the day. I'm covering the old legs in the team, and just the amount of games we play, you need good depth. So do you know what? For a backup, he done okay. Another midfield player, because we have now got potentially the most stacked midfield in the Premier League. Another backup who got a lot more than backup is going to be Talasco. He comes in from Casapia for 27 million. He has a decent return in 24 games, not in terms of the stats really, but the average rating. And he just offers something which is very similar to the other players we do have, but he can play the smaller games, you know. He's not going to be a star-studded player, but to be fair, he did play 24 games in the Prem, so he probably did do quite well. And yes, we have gone midfield crazy. We are also going to pick up Oscar Bob, but he was actually originally signed to play as a backup right wing. Now, what I will say is he has played 37 games, so he's been in the team somewhere. 5 goals, 10 assists, great average rating. He is a fantastic player, and as you can see, we have gone over our budget in 219 million. So one of these players, which I believe was actually Chabibi, we only paid 7 or so million up front. The rest was done in installments, and we did get more money back into the club because the likes of Daka, Winks, Fatawu, Akoli, these players have gone on the free. They're getting older, they're offering nothing, so I let them go, get their wage back so I can spend it on better and bigger players. But let's go over to the last season, see what we can do. This is it now. We've spent all the money we can spend. We are now at our max season cap. If we're going to win the Champions League, it has to be right now. So we are going to start with the Community Shield, a trophy that we've never actually won before. So we are going to get a chance to against Arsenal. And you know what? We get off to a great start, as you saw right there, from a penalty. But Arsenal aren't an easy team to beat all the time. And Declan Rice, when he's playing like that, he's giving me flashbacks of prime Messi at Barca. He is scoring. A goal like that should never happen. What is our defence doing? But fortunately for our defence, when you got players like Oscar Bob, who can put a great ball into Chabibi, ball back into Nico, first touch, first strike, we're going to win the Community Shield. Fortunately, we are going to get knocked out in the semi-finals of the Carabao Cup, meaning the English treble is definitely off the cards, as we also lose the FA Cup on penalties against Liverpool. It's as close as it gets. So the Premier League, though, we've got to be quite sort of, you know, happy with what we've done, really, because we have won it now 3 times back to back. And again, this season is a lot closer. Chelsea and City actually very close behind us. João Pedro finally becomes the top goal scorer. Savio is going to be your top average rating. Savio and Pedro, the most player of the matches, joint second. Savio, the most assists. So Savio and Pedro really carrying the bulk load of why we were so good in that Premier League. Now, sadly, we have not won the Champions League. We're going to get knocked out in the quarterfinals on penalties. Now, we did actually go through the round of 16, obviously, when we beat Chelsea 2-1. And as for the league phase, again, invincible. So we're not far off doing it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set you the challenge of winning the Premier League and the Champions League in one season. And to do that, you can go over to the Patreon and get this tactic and also the rebuild file. If you want to carry on doing the same sort of theme we're doing, £3 million per win, show me the team you've got in like 3 or 4 years, because I can guarantee it's going to be nuts. This team already is looking very, very good. I mean, we look at it, we have got some big players in here with some serious stat lines. And the player of the video, do you know what? Player of the video, I'm going to give to João Pedro. I'm going to give it to him because I think he has been absolutely incredible. So consistent, very, very good player. Savio also deserves a mention. If you have enjoyed, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Have a great rest of your day.